It creates more opportunities. The evolved technology, we can actually go much deeper, have the fear, right? Because we are afraid of being judged. Let the innovators keep innovating. It might be a good thing for those big companies to keep building the capacity of the model. We shouldn't be afraid of the potential negative impact for entering a new era.
This is a conversation with JJ. She's the founder of TalkMeUp, an AI-powered communication coach. In this episode, we talk about the ethics of having an AI watch your Zoom call, some of the traits of the world's best speakers, and why she's optimistic about this technology. How did you all go about thinking about, I guess, the ethics of being in a Zoom call, recording it, giving feedback, and making sure you mentioned that like certain coaches have biases, and even the AI also has biases. So like, how are you ensuring that these biases don't come into the AI as well?
Yeah, the biases, introduced by human coaches, that's probably not measurable, right?
Yeah,
But
correct.
the AI model, everything's measurable, right? And everything can be controlled. For instance, making sure there is a balanced data set when it comes to training and testing the AI models. And we can actually dive deeper into the performance of AI to make sure, we cover the neurodiversity of the population, different skin tone, different age groups, different personas. We can just keep adding to the database to make sure the AI doesn't provide bias. Although that's inevitable as well, but
Yeah, correct.
compared to what human coaches feedback,
Yeah.
well improved.
Yeah. Are you like training based off the data that's coming in through like the Zoom calls and things? Are you doing, or like are you using some other data set?
So it's the same methodology we're using as it's called persuasive communication. So the feedback our system gives is based on the user's performance against their target audience decision making criteria. So it's the same methodology, proven effective. In our case, we used large data set to make sure the AI provides the best possible feedback to the users. So I think the initial training data, that's from various source of good coaches feed to the product, and then we have ongoing a source of training data coming to the system to make sure it keeps performing well.
Were there any challenges building this out when you were getting started that you had to like overcome when building out like the AI engine? I'm sure there wasn't like that many great data sets, and you also had to use subjective information from what you saw, like you mentioned academia, and what makes a good conversational, coach. So I guess how'd you overcome those challenges to build out the AI engine?
I think running a startup has all kinds of challenges. The technical resolution is just one of it. At the early time, we were facing, limited budget, talent, data set is one of the problems, and
Yeah.
some legal, a lot of things we have to resolve, right? So in terms of the technical part, I think what gave us the confidence and keep us, pushing forward is the market need. So unlike most, high tech companies that start with the technology, we actually started from the problem because that's a problem that we identified in the market, and we realized it's a huge market. As long as it's technically feasible, we can come up with a solution that can address a real problem. So that has been, our goal. So a lot of effort was on, how to, make it, make the AI engine work as what we desired, right? So initially, yes, the data set. So that was captured from Carnegie Mellon University from the presentation classes. And then from there, we had our alpha version of the AI model, which gives you an overall score for your performance. And then from there, we did a lot of iteration, hearing from the market's voice. For instance, people say, okay, one score is fine, but could you just break it down and give me more specific analysis? So that's why from there, the second version of our AI model, we actually like literally follow the communication training methodology, which is, we break down your performance into a set of key competencies. We're talking about, empathy, enthusiasm, sentiment, body gestures, facial expression, eye contact, etc., etc. So those key elements a effective communicator should cover. So from there, for each metric, we have the score, we have the coaching, dynamic coaching dynamic feedback provided to the end user. So that's like the core AI model development. And of course, we are actually providing a enterprise SaaS solution. That means there has been a lot of engineering effort involved to make it commercial ready.
Do you think the benefits in this space outweigh the quote unquote negatives or like the AI being used for certain evil purposes?
Right, right. That's a fair question. I think for myself, I'm a positive and forward-thinking person.
Yeah.
I think for entrepreneurs, we shouldn't be afraid of the potential negative impact of the advanced or advancing technology, right? Because we think forward. You hear this a lot. It's like a cliche. Every entrepreneur says, why did you create this company? We want to make the world a better place, right? Nobody wants to create something that would just destroy humanity. So most people, they have good intentions. On the other hand, if you look at the history of humanity, bad people are using the same tools or technology to achieve their evil purpose, right? So I think let the innovators keep innovating. In the meantime, on the other hand, the legal system should catch up as well, right? It's like
Yeah.
on both sides, we gotta keep evolving so that we're supporting each other and create a better community for humanity.
You're saying like regulation in terms of like the government and things like that. But I guess it is hard because you are dealing with different governments having different opinions on how the AI should be regulated, and AI sort of extends beyond borders in a sense. So it is hard to kind of
That's
regulate the entire
inevitable because
industry.
we're
Yeah.
exactly
Yeah.
it's inevitable process, right? Because
Yeah.
we're entering a new era and there's so much uncertainties and everybody's trying to make things work. So that's just an inevitable process.
Yeah. I guess like where do you see this going in the future in terms of like conversational coaching? Is there room in the market for companies that are building custom AI solutions beyond OpenAI or Anthropic or Microsoft or Google that have all of these large training sets, have these massive GPUs? They can afford to do all of these things, but it might move out like a smaller player that is also working on something interesting, but they just might not have the resources to do it. So where do you see this going?
Yeah, I think it creates more opportunities because it has made problem solving possible for many unsolved problems, right? So, for instance, our company built our own AI system from scratch. So we actually have a patent around our current system. Um, but again, Gen AI, that's a tool we can actually use to make the feedback in our AI reports more in depth and personalized. So same logic applies for other innovators, right? So here is the technology that you can use to solve a specific problem in depth instead of scratching the surface, counting filler words and whatsoever. I mean, what's the value of that, right?
Yeah,
With
correct.
the evolved technology, we can actually go much deeper into the problem solving for old problems and new problems.
Do you think there's like, I guess like a quick follow up on that is, do you think there are any downsides to a few companies owning the entire models? I know Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg said that they're working on like open source models because they want the community to work on them, but inherently still like Facebook is working on those models. Microsoft owns them, Google owns them.
For general models, it might be a good thing for those big companies to keep building the capacity of the model, so that it's easier for smaller startups to build on top of. It's like when iPhone was in the market, there's iOS market like app market, and we have seen a lot of innovations just based off of that platform and technology. Same things happening right now. Yeah, I tend to see the positive side of things.
Yeah.
That's
I,
just me. Yeah.
it is good. Yeah. I just like, yeah, just because of the resource constraint, certain companies
hmm
will naturally own majority of it. How are you going about deciding what to measure in terms of conversational effectiveness? Like what were the most important metrics and that you're identifying and you're giving feedback to people on?
Yeah, so we did not invent the training methodology. It's still the proven effective training methodology that academia and industry have been using for decades, called persuasive communication. So we're still following the same methodology, except we use AI to fully automate the whole process and make everything measurable and quantifiable. So when it comes to what are those metrics or key competencies, I think we have over 10 metrics. We're talking about how the presenter come across visually, eye contact, facial expressions, um, gestures, and then how they come across through their voice, right? The audio part. So there's enthusiasm, energy, voice projection, etc., etc. And there's the content part. So for instance, what kind of filler words you used, content structure, whether you demonstrated empathy, your sentiment, etc., etc. Is the persuasion strategy you used, meaning whether you use data to convince your audience or examples or comparison, etc., to make yourself convincing. So those are, you know, the set of metrics that we measure, whether it's, self-practice or your actual conversations with your audience over Zoom or Microsoft Teams or whatever video conferencing tool you're using.
Public speaking is the number one fear that most people have. I think there was a study that showed that public speaking is more feared than death. I forget the exact study that it was, but there was a study that did that. So I guess like
Right.
besides practice, most people say, okay, you just practice. What are things that you all are seeing when it comes to public speaking that can help them or help people with this fear? And then I guess like related to that, what are some of the best public speakers doing that you're trying to nudge them towards?
Yeah, I think it's natural for us to have the fear, right? Because we are afraid of being judged. We don't know where we are in terms of our performance, right? And we don't
Mm-hmm.
know what good looks like. And practicing in front of a mirror won't give me the answer. The good traits good communicators or good presenters have are exactly those metrics we measure, right?
Mm-hmm.
Positive and open gestures, positive facial expression, eye contact, positive sentiment, appropriate pacing, no filler words,
Mm-hmm.
ideally, and use appropriate persuasion strategies to make yourself believable. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the goal.
Do you see that there is like differences between people that are doing public speaking when it comes to, I guess, giving like a professional lecture or like a pitch versus, making a YouTube video or something like that? Or like me and you talking right now, we're going to maybe use some more filler words, but that actually might make it seem more conversational and personable and authentic.
So the difference between communication under different scenarios, correct?
Correct. Yes.
So despite of the different communication scenarios, it still follows the same framework, right? You can fine tune the standard per metric. For instance, if we are doing a public speech, we might want to project higher enthusiasm, right, and louder voice. Whereas if it's like one-on-one conversation, we want to make it more casual. So enthusiasm level might not be that high because if I'm talking like this, that'll be like crazy too overwhelming to you.
Yeah, correct.
But then again, the awareness of where I should adjust or which metric I should adjust, that's something we are help we're teaching our users with. So the whole mindset and skill set of communication coaching, so they know how to adapt their style when they communicate in different scenarios.
If you had to say there was like one trait or like two traits out of all the metrics that you all track that like some of the world's best communicators and presenters have in common that maybe most people don't have, right? If there's like one or two.
I think it's the mindset, the self-awareness and being able to speak slow. I know people tend to talk fast when they're nervous. The ability to speak slow and know where to pause when you're talking to the audience is super important because that'll grab the audience attention. It's kind of counterintuitive, but
Is there like something that like people can do to do that?
practice, just like keep practicing.
Yeah.
And we have observed a very positive, ripple effect among our users. We have seen, more frequent positive engagement between the coworkers after using our tool. Definitely, improved confidence. And then there is very obvious positive correlation between how much they perform when they practice on their own and how well they perform when they are actually having a real world conversation with another person. So keep practicing.